The Miami Dolphins have been through quite the quarterback roller coaster this season, and the ride isn't over yet. With Tua Tagovailoa out due to a concussion, the team's QB depth has been stretched thin. They've had to dig deep and adjust, but now there's a glimmer of hope with the return of veteran quarterback C.J. Beathard to the practice squad, just in time to add some much-needed depth. Let's be honest, this hasn't been the easiest season for Dolphins fans. After losing Tua in Week 2 against the Bills, everything seemed to go downhill. Tyler Huntley, who stepped in to start 3 games, gave it his all but ended up injured as well. A throwing shoulder injury in the loss to the Colts knocked him out, leaving Miami scrambling yet again. And then there's Skylar Thompson, who took a beating in Week 3 against Seattle, coming out of that game with rib and chest injuries. He may have toughed it out in practice, but clearly, his deep throws weren't coming as naturally. It felt like Miami couldn't catch a break. The Dolphins were sitting at 2-4, with their playoff hopes slipping away. How did it come to this? After Week 2's loss to Buffalo, things weren't exactly pretty. Miami was barely keeping it together with the quarterback carousel, and the team's performance reflected that. One can't help but wonder how much better things could have been if they'd been more aggressive about finding a solid backup earlier on. Would Miami's record have been different if they'd had someone reliable to bridge the gap until Tua came back? It's tough not to think about what could have been. But now, C.J. Beathard is back in the mix, and that's a move that definitely catches the eye. The Dolphins were actually looking at Beathard weeks ago when Tua first went down, but things didn't work out then. Head coach Mike McDaniel, who had worked with Beathard back in his San Francisco days, admitted the team reached out to him after he parted ways with Jacksonville, but Beathard wasn't ready to play at that time. So instead, Miami went with Tim Boyle. Boyle and Huntley have done their best, but the reality is that the Dolphins have struggled to keep their offense clicking without Tua. Now, here's the twist: Beathard's not the flashiest pick, but he's a fighter. He's got that competitive fire McDaniel loves, along with a solid arm and toughness. He's the kind of quarterback who might not light up the stat sheet but brings grit and determination to the field. In his NFL career, he's had his ups and downs, with a 3-10 record as a starter and 19 touchdowns to 14 interceptions. But stats don't tell the whole story. Sometimes it's about the guy who's willing to go out there and battle, and that's what McDaniel sees in him. Sure, he's not a superstar, but he's got the heart to make an impact when called upon. Meanwhile, there's been a flurry of other moves in Miami. The Dolphins also added wide receiver Tarek Black to the practice squad and released tight end Hayden Rucci. Every little tweak to the roster feels crucial at this point. With injuries stacking up and the team trying to keep pace in a tough AFC, it's all about finding the right pieces to patch the holes and stay competitive. And let's not forget the big question: is Tua really coming back this week? He's still on injured reserve, but there's buzz that he could make his return for Sunday's game against the Arizona Cardinals. Tua himself has said he's treating the week like he's getting ready to start, and he's scheduled to practice, but nothing's official yet. If Tua can come back, it could change everything for the Dolphins. The team has been missing that spark, that leadership that he brings to the field. His absence has been felt, no doubt about it. The Dolphins have been fighting to stay afloat, but getting Tua back would be like a breath of fresh air, the kind of energy that could turn the season around. So now, it's a waiting game. Miami's been battered and bruised, but they've shown resilience. The quarterback situation hasn't been ideal, but with Beathard added to the mix, there's at least some depth behind the starters. And with Tua potentially coming back soon, maybe, just maybe, the Dolphins can start finding their rhythm again. Sunday's game against Arizona looms large, and the entire fan base will be holding its breath, hoping for a spark that can reignite this season.